Phoebus. Phoebus is a place where we should have lodging, where we should have entertainment, lots of restaurants. It is sitting there basically unused. I know some people want to make some investment, but it is the most easily, it's contiguous to the fort, easily accessible. A lot of the things that we would like to do on the fort are not going to be consistent with the integrity, the historic and natural resource integrity of the fort. But Phoebus is a different situation. And we need a major lodging facility, a nice first-class one that would be consistent with the marina, that will be really within walking distance of Phoebus. I think that I know you are looking at that, Madam Manager, but we should not be unawares. I guess we're somewhat uninvolved, but the reality is that Phoebus should be a complementary part of Fort Monroe. People should, you have to really go through Phoebus to get to the fort. When you enter there, you should see, nice lodging facilities, some nice restaurants, a theater, that kind of thing. And that will bring substantial revenue. One of our objectives from the very beginning has been to compensate the city of Hampton and the larger region, but particularly the city of Hampton, for all that revenue you lost when Tradoc moved. And I do think that Phoebus is a prime economic development opportunity, and it would also serve the interests of what we want to achieve with regard to the fort. Please.
I totally agree with you, and Phoebus is absolutely undergoing a renaissance, and as many of you in the room know, we have a lot more restaurants, retail, all of that we absolutely believe to be complementary. And the city, through its master planning efforts, is working very, very hard to make sure that we protect the historic core of Phoebus so that Phoebus is reflective and complementary and not contradictory as you go through Phoebus to get to Fort Monroe. In fact, we recently updated some of our ordinances to make sure that that historic preservation was even stronger in the core of historic Phoebus. And certainly, if a hotel can be accommodated in Phoebus, that would contribute. But I will say that most of the hoteliers we've talked about, I think they prefer, if we can find an appropriate historic preservation project, to be on the post, specifically because they can integrate with the experiences, the natural resources, the history, the national monument, and the like. And so I don't want to speak for Mr. Jarvis, but certainly when I was supporting his notion of lodging, my thought was we might get a higher and better hotel quality and experience if it's somehow integrated here on the post. I do think some of the experiences that might provide economic return can absolutely happen in Phoebus, and we're glad to host that. But I also would hope that we're not closed to some of them being on the post as well, because I think they will be, in terms of the rents that they pay for leases, a contributor to the economic sustainability for our bottom line on the authority side. So, and I was remiss, and I'm not saying it, just to cater to you, Mr. Chairman, but I have always believed your notion of the extended learning university concept was a great concept, and might be a very appropriate thing for Building 5, which I agree as well. I was remiss in saying is probably the most special building we have to take the greatest care for because of its presence right there on the parade grounds.
Excellent. Well, so far I think we're all singing from the same songbook. It really would be nice, I think, once you get off the highway to see a modern city, attractive with amenities, and then you drive to Fort Monroe and you see a nice marina with a type of updated yacht club, a nice restaurant, and I don't think that detracts in any way from the integrity of the fort itself. So now we're going to hear from Jay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of points. first of all, remind everybody what we're doing. Obviously, we have reserved public spaces, public buildings, everything that we, whether it's visitor center or the National Monument or playground, we reserve public spaces and public buildings to the extent we have public monies to fund those. And the only thing we're RFPing is either buildings that are vacant or leased for private use, because we don't have the funds or the ability to raise the funds to preserve those buildings. So we're looking to the private sector to do that. So we really had to go out and be flexible. We have a master plan. Obviously, the master plan is already in some respects obsolete in the sense, for instance, Building 5 was designated as a governor's school, residential governor's school with STEM academy. That's gone by the wayside. So when we went out for qualifications first and proposals second, we are, I don't want to say we're at the mercy of the private sector, but we're asking the private sector, what are you willing to put your money into? It has to be compatible with all those governing documents that we have. But at the end of the day, this is going to be private enterprise deciding where to risk their funds and to invest their monies. The other thing is this is a first RFP. If we get satisfactory proposals on all the property we have out, and if we are successful in negotiating and closing agreements on all those properties, I will be astounded. I expect this to be a first step. I expect less than all the properties to be spoken for. I expect there to be some leading uses that come that are easier to do. Residential is easier to do. There are other uses that are following uses that once you have the rooftops and the people living here, it's easier for somebody to come open up, another restaurant or whatever. So I would expect this to be an iterative process. We're going to put some of these properties to bed and get good projects going in the next couple of years. But I expect us to have to repeat this, maybe not once, maybe twice after this. And John can tell you that they are still working on a final project at the Presidio, 20, how many years later? Yeah. So they're
not to mention the millions that Nancy
so,
Pelosi still working on.
So if you all think you're going to be done after this year, you can forget it. But anyway,
but it is financially self-sustainable. Presidio at this point.
Yes. So
the federal government is.
We're going to get many shots at, if we don't get my point is if we don't get an overnight stay facility, resident of some sort of hotel, motel, first go around, my guess is we'll still have property left and we'll have an opportunity to pursue that in subsequent phases.
Very good.